They think you're weak because you don't shout. They think you're soft because you don't retaliate. They mistake your silence for surrender. And that's exactly what they should do. You see, the most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest. It's the one who says nothing. The one who doesn't flinch when they're insulted. The one who doesn't take the bait, doesn't show their cards, doesn't fall into the trap. That person, calm, unwritable, unmoved, is a threat, and people don't even realize it until it's too late. You don't need to fight back to win. That's the lie they told you. That power means clashing, yelling, proving your point. But real power, it doesn't prove itself. It positions itself. It doesn't scream. It strategizes. Because when you learn to stop giving emotional reactions, you become something they don't know how to handle. And here's the twist. The more someone tries to control you, the more unsettled they become when you stop playing their game, when you stop responding to the insults, when you stop defending yourself, when you stop letting their behavior dictate your peace. There's an old saying, don't wrestle with pigs, you'll both get dirty and the pig likes it. So why are you in the mud? Why are you handing your emotions to people who haven't earned your attention, your respect, or your energy? What if the next time someone disrespected you, you didn't clap back? What if you didn't defend yourself at all, but instead you watched, you listened, and you learned? What if you stayed so cool, so calm, that they started questioning their own game? This isn't about being passive. It's about being powerful in a way most people will never understand. It's about choosing the battlefield, the timing, and most importantly, the silence. Because when you don't fight back, but you fool them instead, you win twice. Control is power, not just over others, but over yourself. And that's the kind of control that truly separates people. The ones who explode, react, lash out, or break under pressure aren't weak because they feel emotion. They're weak because they don't own it. They've handed over the keys of their emotional state to someone else. Every time they lose their temper, someone else is driving the car. And whether they know it or not, they've just told the world exactly where to poke to get a reaction. Think about that. Every time you react emotionally to someone's disrespect, manipulation, or provocation, you're showing your hand. You're showing them where your triggers are. You're teaching them how to control you. And the more they learn, the more they'll push, because people test boundaries. That's human nature. But when you don't react, when your emotions don't flinch, you throw their entire game into chaos. You become unreadable. And when people can't read you, they can't control you. That's the kind of quiet power that shakes people up. We live in a world that rewards reaction. Look at social media. It thrives on outrage, drama, snapbacks, and comebacks. Everybody wants the last word, the viral moment, the sharp clapback. But here's the truth. The person who always has to respond is already being controlled. They're moving to someone else's rhythm. They're chasing validation. They're constantly trying to prove something. Why? Because they don't feel powerful in their silence. They think being quiet makes them small, but the real warriors, the ones who are untouchable, are the ones who can sit in the fire of provocation and not move, not because they don't feel it, but because they choose not to be mastered by it. Let's get real. Emotional discipline isn't about being numb. It's about being aware, hyper-aware of what you feel and then choosing what to do with it. It's about being so tuned in to yourself that no one can hijack your peace. That's a level of internal control most people never reach because it takes practice, it takes presence, it takes humility, and it takes the courage to stop reacting and start observing. You ever been in a situation where someone insulted you, tried to embarrass you, maybe even tried to get under your skin in front of? Now picture yourself in that moment. Your body tenses, your heart races, your instinct wants to defend, retaliate, lash out, but instead, you breathe, you look them in the eye, you say nothing, or you smile and walk away. Not because you're afraid, but because you've already calculated the outcome. You've already decided that their opinion is worthless, that their behavior doesn't deserve your energy, that your peace is not up for negotiation. That moment, that choice is power. It's dominance without aggression. It's control without chaos. And it confuses people. Why? Because most people are used to seeing emotional explosions. They're used to pushing buttons and watching the show. But when there's no show, when the screen stays blank, they don't know what to do with you. That's when the power dynamic shifts. That's when they start questioning themselves. Here's another truth. People feel powerful when they can predict you, when they know how you'll respond, when they can manipulate your behavior. So the moment you start breaking your own patterns, the moment you stop being predictable, you take the power back. You move from reactive to responsive, from emotional to strategic. You become a player, not a pawn. And yes, it's hard. It's hard not to react when you're disrespected. It's hard not to clap back when someone's talking behind your back or trying to provoke you. But you need to ask yourself, do I want revenge or results? Because revenge is temporary. It feels good for a moment, but control, emotional mastery, that brings lasting results. It elevates your life, your relationships, your leadership, and your freedom. You want freedom? Master your emotions, because when you do, nobody gets to decide your day for you. No one gets to steal your joy or disrupt your mental space. You get to wake up and choose how you move, no matter what chaos is around you. And guess what? That kind of discipline is rare. That kind of self-possession is intimidating, because the world doesn't know what to do with someone who refuses to be pulled into its drama, who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't bend. So when someone tries to insult you, test you, provoke you, don't give them what they want. Don't fight back, fool them, let them think you're not affected. Let them wonder, let them feel the weight of your silence. Because silence, when it's intentional, is not weakness. It's dominance in disguise. Own your emotions. Don't be mastered by them. Don't react to noise. Move with purpose. That's how you build real strength. That's how you win, not just today, but every day after. Not because you fought back louder, but because you were strong enough not to need to. Most people are so busy reacting that they forget to observe. They're so quick to defend, explain, or respond that they miss what's actually happening right in front of them. But here's the secret most powerful people understand. Information is leverage. And to gain that information, you have to be quiet enough to see the patterns that others miss. When you stop talking and start watching, people reveal everything. How they move, how they manipulate, what they avoid, what triggers them, how they try to control a room. It's all visible to the person who knows how to stay silent and pay attention. You don't need to confront someone to understand them. You need to observe them. Every person operates out of a set of repeated behaviors. They may change the words, they may change the timing, but the strategy, that's usually the same. If someone's trying to dominate you, insult you, gaslight you, or break your confidence, chances are it's not their first time, and it won't be their last. But you can only see it when you stop reacting and start tracking. Think of yourself as a quiet detective. You're not emotionally involved in the drama. You're not getting pulled into petty games. You're simply gathering data. You're letting them show you who they are without them even realizing it. And the best part, people always reveal themselves when they think they're in control. When they think you're not watching, they get sloppy. That's when you catch the truth. Watch how they speak to you in private versus in public. Watch how they treat people. They think they don't need. Pay attention to how they handle being told no. Look at how they behave when they're not getting their way. These are all patterns, and once you learn someone's pattern, you can predict their next move. And if you can predict it, you can prepare for it. You can disarm it. You can beat it. But you can't do any of that if you're constantly jumping in, trying to fix, argue, or prove your worth. Silence isn't just about staying calm. It's a tool, a shield, a way of staying 2 steps ahead. Because when you're quiet, they don't know what you're thinking, and that unsettles people, especially manipulative ones. They thrive off your reactions. Your emotional responses are fuel for their control. So when you take that away, they panic. They start making mistakes, they overplay their hand, they talk too much, they dig their own grave, and you never had to lift a finger. You don't always need to expose someone publicly. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let them talk, let them act, and just watch. They will tell on themselves. They will show you where they're weak, where they're insecure, and where they're trying to dominate you out of fear. People who try to control others are usually terrified of losing control themselves. And you'll see that clearly if you watch closely enough. This mindset gives you an incredible advantage, not because you're being passive, but because you're being strategic. You're not stepping back out of fear, you're stepping back to gain clarity. Because when emotions are high, perception is low. You need distance to see the truth. And the quiet mind sees the battlefield the clearest. You're not just surviving conflict, you're decoding it. You're seeing where the traps are. You're noticing who always plays the victim, who always needs to be right, who never takes accountability, who uses charm to manipulate, who uses silence to punish. It's all there in the patterns. And once you've seen the pattern enough, you can make a decision, not an emotional one, but a strategic one. Do I engage? Do I step away? Do I set a hard boundary? Do I expose them? Or do I just let them keep spinning their wheels while I quietly move forward with my life? All of these are options you earn through emotional discipline and deep observation. Because here's something powerful to remember. When you learn how someone moves, they can no longer surprise you. And when you take away the element of surprise, you take away the chaos. You become immune to the manipulation because you've seen the blueprint. They're still playing checkers. You're playing chess. People might think you're naive because you're quiet. Let them. They might think you're unaware because you don't react. Let them. They may even think they're winning because you haven't called them out. Let them believe it. Because you're not playing to be seen. You're playing to be free. You're playing to win in the long game, not to win the moment. And by the time they realize you were never asleep, you were simply observing. It's too late. You already figured them out, and they never saw it coming. The loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. Sometimes they're just the most insecure. The one who shouts, argues, and fights to be heard is usually the one who's already losing control. But real strength, real power, it's not noisy. It doesn't need to be, because those who truly know who they are, those who move with intention and clarity, don't waste their energy trying to win arguments. They win outcomes. They outsmart, not outshout. There's a big difference between reacting emotionally and responding strategically. Emotional reactions are fast, impulsive, and often regrettable. They feel good in the moment, the comeback, the clapback, the explosive statement, but they rarely move you forward. In fact, more often than not, they trap you in a cycle of drama, reactivity, and wasted energy. And that's exactly where people who want to control you want you to stay, stuck in reaction mode, too distracted to think clearly, too emotional to act wisely. But when you choose to outsmart someone instead of outshouting them, everything changes. You shift from being controlled by the situation to controlling your position in it. You stop playing their game and start creating your own. You stop proving your worth and start protecting your peace. Strategic thinking starts with this: not everything needs your reaction. Not every insult deserves your time. Not every confrontation is worth entering. Sometimes the smartest move is no move at all. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them reveal who they are while you stay focused on who you're becoming. That's the thing about people who try to drag you into emotional war. They feed off your response. They need it. They're not really trying to resolve anything. They want to dominate, to manipulate, to break down your confidence by pulling you into their chaos. And if you don't recognize that, you'll keep falling for it again and again until your peace is gone and your energy is scattered in all the wrong directions. But if you start thinking like a strategist, you begin to see every interaction differently. You start asking better questions. What is their goal? What are they trying to get from me? Is this a real conversation or a setup? Is this about resolution or control? Once you see the game, you're no longer a piece on the board. You become the player. You're not pulled into emotional debates that lead nowhere. You pick your battles with purpose. You calculate your words. You understand that timing matters, delivery matters, and sometimes silence is the most powerful response you can offer. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you've already won by not engaging. You don't have to yell to be heard. You don't have to fight to prove your point. Your energy is sacred. Your peace is valuable. You have goals, visions, and a life to build, you don't need to spend your days defending your name to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Let them stay loud and chaotic. You stay focused and precise. There's a special kind of power in restraint, in being able to walk away from nonsense without the need to have the last word. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's emotional intelligence. That's long-term thinking. Because here's what happens when you start thinking strategically. The people who used to provoke you start losing their grip. The ones who could once throw you off with a comment or criticism suddenly find their words bouncing off you. Why? Because you're not reacting anymore. You're responding with silence, with a boundary, with progress. And progress always makes noise, not the kind that comes from your mouth, but the kind that comes from your results. You're not just avoiding conflict, you're conserving your energy for things that matter. You're stepping back not to give up, but to step up later, stronger, sharper, more prepared. You're no longer driven by ego or pride. You're driven by purpose, and that makes you dangerous in the best way. People who master their emotions become impossible to manipulate. They can see through the noise, the drama, the tactics. They know how to smile while being tested. They know how to stand tall while being doubted. They know how to keep moving while being misunderstood. And when they speak, it's intentional, it's clear, it cuts through the nonsense like a blade. You don't have to be aggressive to be powerful. You don't have to yell to be respected. You don't have to fight to prove anything to anyone. Your consistency, your focus, your growth, that's the real statement. That's what silences the noise. That's what shifts the atmosphere. So the next time someone tries to drag you into an argument, bait you into an emotional mess, or push your buttons just to watch you lose control, pause, breathe. Remember who you are and choose strategy over reaction. Choose silence over shouting. Choose power over pride. Because smart always beats loud, and control always beats chaos. You don't need to fight fire with fire. You just need to be the one who doesn't burn. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say absolutely nothing and just win, not loudly, not for attention, not to prove anything, but quietly, steadily, and on your own terms. Because real success doesn't beg to be noticed. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't chase validation. It simply shows up and shuts everything down. The best clapback isn't your words, it's your results. People who try to tear you down, humiliate you, or doubt you, they want a reaction. That's the fuel. That's the power play. If they can keep you angry, if they can make you defend yourself, if they can drag you into their drama, they feel in control. They want the war. They want to watch you sweat. Because when you're distracted trying to get even, you're not focused on getting better. And that's why you don't give them what they want. You don't argue. You don't engage. You don't explain. You just rise. You rise so far above their noise that it gets quiet all on its own. Because nothing silences a hater faster than your elevation. Nothing unsettles a manipulator more than realizing you've outgrown the space they once controlled. Nothing shuts people down like seeing you win, especially when they tried to break you. Success is powerful because it's undeniable. You don't have to broadcast it. You don't have to shove it in anyone's face. It speaks for itself. And when it does what no insult, no comeback, no argument ever could. It exposes the truth, that they were wrong, that you were never who they tried to convince the world you were. That all their noise was just projection and fear. And that while they were busy watching you, you were building something bigger than they could ever stop. Winning quietly requires discipline. It means not defending yourself every time you're misunderstood. It means walking away from fights that would only cost you your peace. It means being okay with being underestimated, even mocked, because you're too focused on the mission to waste time correcting people's false narratives. It means trusting yourself so deeply that you don't need to be seen to know your worth. You just keep working, keep moving, keep evolving until the results speak for you. Here's the truth. Not everyone needs to know your next move. Not everyone deserves access to your process. The more they know, the more they can sabotage. So sometimes the smartest move is silence. Move in shadows, but work in light. Let them think you've disappeared while you're actually just transforming. Let them assume you've lost while you're quietly preparing to win. Because when you reemerge stronger, more stable, more successful, it stuns people. It shakes the ones who swore they had the final word. It humbles the ones who thought they broke you. It confuses those who thought they knew your story. Because the truth is, you never stopped. You just stopped talking. And while they were playing loud games, you were stacking silent victories. Winning quietly also changes you. It forces you to shift from proving mode to purpose mode. When you stop chasing applause, you start building things that actually last. You start showing up for you, not to impress them. And that's when you become truly dangerous, because you're no longer emotionally attached to how people see you. You're attached to how you see yourself. That's freedom. And freedom breeds momentum. You stop moving from pain and start moving from vision. You stop trying to get even and start trying to get ahead. You stop showing up to win arguments and start showing up to win seasons. That's a mindset shift that many people never make. But if you do, everything changes. Let the doubters doubt. Let the critics talk. Let the manipulators plot. That's their game. Don't play it. Your only job is to stay focused, stay grounded, and stay relentless. Don't waste your energy proving what your progress will eventually show. The people who really matter, the ones who truly see you, won't need an explanation. And the ones who need convincing, they're not for you anyway. You want to know what hits the hardest evolving so far that they can't even recognize you? Not because you've become someone different, but because you finally became who you were always meant to be. While they were watching your past, you were building your future. While they were gossiping, you were grinding. While they were trying to block your name, you were creating a legacy. So keep your head down and your faith up. Let your actions be louder than your emotions. Let your focus be sharper than your ego. You don't have to fight to be heard. You don't have to beg to be seen. All you have to do is become undeniable. Because when your life becomes the evidence, there is nothing left to prove. That's how you win. Not by shouting, not by clapping back, but by becoming so successful, so confident, so unbothered that your silence becomes the loudest thing they've ever heard. There is a kind of strength that cannot be faked, a power that doesn't come from how loud you speak or how fierce you argue, but from how deeply rooted you are in your peace. When you become unbothered, truly deeply unbothered, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier or people suddenly become kind, but because you've developed the inner discipline to stop giving them access to your peace. And once that happens, the game changes. Being unbothered doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean you're cold, numb, or shut off. It means you've matured emotionally to the point where other people's actions, words, and opinions don't control how you show up. You're no longer at the mercy of the energy around you. You don't react to every opinion, every dig, every attempt to pull you out of your character. Because you've learned not everything deserves your attention, your anger, or your presence. When you're unbothered, people can't provoke you like they used to. The same games they used to play don't work anymore. The same triggers don't get the same response. And that confuses people. It frustrates them. Because your lack of reaction takes away their power. You're no longer emotionally available for chaos. You've removed your energy from the circus. You're not proving, not pleasing, not performing. You're just being steady, focused, grounded. And that kind of presence is intimidating. You stop being easily manipulated when you stop needing to be liked. You stop being controlled when you stop seeking approval. Because when you're unbothered, you stop needing external validation to feel whole. You know who you are. You trust your process. You believe in your direction. And you've stopped negotiating your value in conversations that were never meant to uplift you. People will always test your boundaries. That's life. They'll try to trigger you, guilt you, bait you into drama, or make you feel small. And if you haven't built emotional armor, you'll take that bait every time. You'll feel the need to explain yourself, defend yourself, argue, fix, or fight. But all of that is noise. All of that is energy leaking from your purpose. Being unbothered is about energy conservation. It's about emotional discipline. It's about recognizing that some things are simply beneath you. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused. You're building, you're healing, you're protecting your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Your peace is not up for discussion. It's not something people get to disrupt just because they feel like it. You can always tell who's really in control of themselves by how they respond under pressure. When things get tense, when disrespect shows up, when someone tries to provoke them, do they lose themselves or do they hold the line? That line, that stillness, that restraint, that's where the power lives. Because when someone can't pull you into their storm, they're left alone in their chaos, and that's where they start to crumble. You don't need to be aggressive to set a boundary. You don't need to yell to be heard. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Just silence. Just distance. Just redirection. You don't always have to explain why someone no longer has access to you. You just stop giving them what they came for. Your emotional reaction. This kind of self-possession creates peace. And peace is magnetic. When you walk into a room and your energy is calm, steady, unaffected, people notice because most of the world is anxious, reactive, easily offended. But you've become centered, unmoved. You're no longer chasing, you're attracting. You're no longer defending, you're deciding. You're no longer reacting, you're responding when you choose to. That's not just maturity, that's mastery. There will be people who misunderstand this peace. They'll call it cold, arrogant, detached. Let them. They're not supposed to understand because you're not living at their level of chaos anymore. You've risen above the noise, you've elevated your state of being, and from where you stand, the pettiness, the drama, the small talk of people trying to get a reaction out of you, it just doesn't reach you anymore. And the more unbothered you become, the more clarity you gain about yourself, about the people around you, about what truly matters. You stop wasting time trying to fix things that were never yours to fix. You stop pouring into conversations that lead nowhere. You stop explaining your value to people who can't see it. You simply move forward in silence and in purpose and let your peace speak for itself. Because nothing is louder than a calm spirit in a chaotic world. So be unbothered, not because you don't care, but because you care too much about the right things to waste time on the wrong ones. Be unbothered because you've worked too hard on your healing to hand your triggers back to people who don't respect you. Be unbothered because you finally understand that your energy is yours and not everyone gets to have access to it. That's how you become untouchable. Not by building walls, but by building standards. Not by silencing the world, but by training yourself not to be shaken by it. When you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you stop allowing others to dictate your emotional state, you rise, you level up, you become still. And in that stillness, you become unstoppable. Here's the truth. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your value. You don't have to fight every battle to prove your strength. Your power is not in how loud you clap back. It's in how deeply you refuse to be moved by things that don't deserve your energy. The moment you stop reacting, you start leading. You begin to operate from a higher frequency, one built on clarity, intention, and emotional control. You don't let disrespect redefine your identity. You don't let manipulation rewrite your worth. You don't let noise interrupt your mission. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them try to provoke you. While they're watching, you're winning. Quietly, strategically, relentlessly. Because you know who you are, and you know that real power never performs. It positions itself. So don't fight back. Fool them. Let them believe you're weak. Let them assume you've fallen behind. And then without warning, without noise, without needing anyone's approval, rise so high they can't even reach the version of you they once tried to break. Your silence is power. Your restraint is strength. Your peace is the proof. And your success, that's the final word.